Hello and welcome to Mediumship Matters with me, Hannah Macintyre. And here we are, episode 36, or is it episode 35.2? I don't know. But we're carrying on our conversation here about what makes a good medium and taking it a bit further now with what makes good evidence. So this is interesting. And again, something that I think is very personal. So if you've ever tried to book a one-on-one reading with me, or in fact a demonstration with me, you will know that my website says I don't work on names and dates. I bring the presence of the spirit world to you. So if you are looking for sort of tick list of information that can be validated in that sort of shopping list way. That's how we used to be taught as mediums. It's evolved since then. But we used to be given a list of things, which was what they expected us to bring through from the spirit world, and you would work within the confines of that list. There's a much greater naturalness to mediumship now, which I'm so glad about. So if you were if you wanted just a list of things, then I'm not the medium for you. But there are mediums out there that work like that, and I think they're amazing. So, for example, somebody dies and they die, and they don't just say they die as an old person, they would say they die at the age of 84, or they 76 or 25, and they died in August, or their birthday was in September. And these are all really, really good pieces of evidence, interesting pieces of evidence. But for me, mediumship is so much more than that. And in fact, people are so much more than that. So if we were going to take the example here of my Nana who's in spirit, who I miss terribly, especially at this time of year towards Christmas, because we would nearly always see her at Christmas. And if I was to take my Nana and the wonderful, complex, difficult, loving, painful aspects of my Nana and the person that she was, the person that she still is, the spirit that she is, I would not want that boiled down to she died at this age, her birthday was in March. She's so much more than facts and figures. She lived at number 9. She's so much more than that. And for me, mediumship is, yes, about evidence, and you have to make sure that you have enough evidence to be able to verify that that person that's talking from the spirit world is who they say they are, who the medium says they are. So I'm not saying you don't need any evidence, but sometimes with mediums, and no shade because everybody works differently, it's very sort of mechanical to me. They did this, they lived here, they did this job, they died at this age, they died of this. It's like a list of bullet points about somebody. But actually, if I could have any moment with my grandmother again, I would have the memories of her teaching me how to do the twist in the Isle of Wight. I would have her obsession with the family tree and how she loved to go into quite in-depth stories about the family tree and what she'd found out, which was fascinating. I would remember her loud, judgmental conversations about the neighbours, which they could hear because we were all in the garden on a lovely sunny day. I would remember the time that I took her shopping, and she had a really hilarious conversation with me about pubic hair. Honestly, she was amazing, my grandmother. So funny, so complex, so difficult. But she's so much more than died at this age, birthday in March, all of that kind of thing. And that's what I would want to remember. I would want to remember how much she loved me in her own way. all the happy memories that we had together, the holidays we went on, the laughter we experienced, the food she cooked, the glamour of her, the fact that she was always really well put together and beautiful and stylish, and she had a va-va-voom. And they're the things that I want to remember. And when my students do mediumship and bring her through in that way, I can just sit for a moment and just really be surrounded by my memories, because I'm surrounded by the presence of her, because she's being brought back to life. And that for me is what makes really good evidential mediumship. And I feel that within that sort of opening up to who they are, who they still are, because that's the thing I love the most about spirit, is that we don't change. When I move into the spirit world, I will still be overly chatty, hyperactive, bossy, and probably a little controlling if I'm honest, and very loving, a little bit needy, totally emotional. And that's who I am. That's the essence of who I am. And I'll still be that when I die. And I love it. I love when the spirit world come forward and you get this sense of their personality and the sense of who they are. And they're still that. They haven't become some softly spoken spiritual person. They are them still. I find that exciting. We have this idea, don't we, that we're all going to become sort of sanitized by being in the God force. We're going to move to heaven and become heavenly. And I blooming well love it. I love it that we all stay the same. Of course we evolve. Of course we grow. We move out of the ego, the control, the you had more than me, the selfishness that we all experience. We move past that, but the elements of who we are remain. And I love that. It's one of the greatest things for me about working with my spirit guides is that they have a stupid sense of humour, just like me. And they've just said cheeky, but they do. They're just the same, because obviously they know we would have agreed before I came here that they would be the best teachers for me. I don't learn from monotonous, as I was talking about earlier. I learn from fun and laughter. And, the biggest messages I've had from spirit have also been accompanied by laughter and silliness and all that kind of thing. So I think that a really good medium, whether it's platform or one-on-one, gives you a moment with your loved ones again, even though hopefully you know that they're always with you. And it's one of the things that Spirit have been talking to me about recently is we need to stop thinking one-dimensionally about the spirit world, because in this physical shell, there's only one of me, okay? So if I'm having a conversation with my mum, I'm having a conversation with my mum. It's me and my mum. But in the spirit world, I could be with my mum, my sister, my brother, my children, my husband, my friends, my students, simultaneously. I wouldn't need to choose because, as you know, space and time is a human construct. So I can be with all of those people. There is no choice. So when you ask your loved ones to keep an eye on your children, say, for example, your mum's in spirit and your son is having a terrible time, and you say to your mum, please look after my son, be with him, I love him, I need to know that he's okay. You're actually not depriving yourself of your mum being around, because she can do both things at once. What was my point? I don't know. I got really carried away then with all the imagery they were giving me, but that's one of the things that I just think is super, super cool. So I think really when you go for a reading, you want to feel that presence. You want to know that you have been in the presence of the spirit world. I think when you go to a demonstration, you still should feel like you've been in the presence of the spirit world. It shouldn't necessarily mean that you have received the message, but you should still know, you should still have that sense of wonder. It absolutely never fails to surprise me how blasé people can be about this. Like, I just want to grab people and go, but they're here. They're here. It's amazing. And because people just don't, they go, oh yeah, thanks very much. That's a nice message. Thank you. And just look like they would if they were watching the BBC News. And I just think it's bloody amazing. So of course it's up to you whether you get as excited as I do by it. But really, I think a great medium, yes, there's evidence. Yes, they'll be able to tell you, they should be able to tell you at least a few things that you can sink your teeth into and go away and know that they were correct. But that for me is not all of it. And if we come back to this, what is the point of mediumship? And I do believe it's about healing. I do believe it's about knowing that we're not on our own. Healing and hope. Healing and hope. If we know that it's about healing and hope, then what we want people to do is leave your company feeling like they've put down some of that stuff that we're all carrying around. And one of the messages that I get from the spirit world, and sometimes I feel like a stuck record whilst simultaneously not feeling like a stuck record, because it's the most important message. The most important is, we're with you. We love you. We're proud of you. We're with you. We love you. We're proud of you. And I say that a lot to people. But generally speaking, sometimes obviously we need apologies from people. Sometimes we want to know that they're okay. Sometimes we want to know other things because of circumstance. But essentially, if you take a basic spirit communication and boil it down, what you need is enough evidence that you know that it's that person. So when you leave and you're out of the emotion, you can say to yourself, they knew about the brooch, they knew about the bedspread, they remembered that holiday we had to Blackpool. You want enough of the presence that you get those memories flooding back for you of, oh my God, I forgot that they used to do this. And yes, they did used to make me laugh. And she was so bossy and she did get really annoyed with next door's cat. You want those memories that you get filled up with just by sitting in that presence of your loved one. And then you really just want to know that you're doing okay. Isn't that what we all want to know? That we're supported and loved by the spirit world. We want to know that they're there, and then quick as they're there comes in, we want it to be followed with, and we think you're doing okay. And we love you. And I feel that is really, really important. And when you see me demonstrate, I say to people all the time, we're proud of you, we love you, we're proud of you, we love you. And I make no apologies for that, because I know that if I exited this physical realm tomorrow, I hope not just before Christmas, I haven't got all my decks up yet, but if I exit this physical realm tomorrow and I watch my children struggling from the other side, it isn't really the other side, from whatever you want to call it, and they finally go see a medium, and I've watched them for 12 years from the spirit world trying to pick up the pieces without me, and I've watched my husband do the best that he can, and I've watched them grow up and meet people and get married. What would I want to say to them? I would want them to know that I hadn't missed any of it. I would want them to know that I love them still, that hasn't changed, that I haven't gone anywhere. And I would want them to know that they're doing okay, that I believe in them, that I'm proud of them. So that for me is the most important stuff. And yeah, dates are cool. Dates are really, really cool. But I think the love is cooler. I don't think cool people say cool anymore, do they? But you know. Hopefully you're all of an age, so you can put up with it, my bad lingo. But that's kind of That's my take. And again, let me know what you think. Let me know what your thoughts are. I've just had such an interesting time talking to Spirit and chewing it all over. And you can disagree with me, absolutely, but please don't book in for a reading with me if you disagree with me, because you'll be getting exactly what I just talked about. You're not. If I get dates, I give them, of course. If I get a name, I give it, of course. One of the things with names that I find vexing, and if anybody can answer this for me, send in, tell me, explain it to me. I understand names when there's a grandchild that's been named after that person and they want to prove that they've been around to see it. I understand names when it's your nan's brother who died when they were children and she's been reunited with him in the spirit world and she wants you to know. I understand names then. I don't understand names just randomly chucked out there around. Would you understand them around this person or around you? When I think there's so many better bits of evidence you can bring. Like, I don't want to remember my nan's friends' names. I don't want to remember my nan's brother-in-law who I never met that I can remember's name. Yeah, if that comes up, that's fine. But what I want to remember is the time we spent together. But yeah, so I can understand names with purpose as evidence, but random names I find odd. Yeah. So if I get a name, I give it, but I don't seek names. I don't seek dates. I don't seek ages of passing, because I would hope if I'm lucky enough to live on this planet until I'm the age of 85, my life will be more than my death. And I would have more things to talk about than how old I was when I died. But if I give it, I get, if I get it, I give it. Always trust in the spirit world. Always, like we were talking about before. But that's, to me, it's just, it's about having that time. You know, when you were a kid, I don't know if you all did this, but you'd go to your nan's house and your nan always had a photo album full of years of memories. And if you were like me and you liked to laugh at pictures of your mum when she was little and stuff like this, you used to hoik out the giant photo album and flick through the yellowing pages, and your nan would always get really excited and come over and sit with you and then explain in-depth detail, instant regret, about everybody in that picture and who they were and what they meant to her and the memories and the stories of this and all of that stuff. Now, joking aside, they're lovely memories. That's lovely memories, isn't it? Of your nan and how proud she is of her family and her life. That's what I think mediumship should be, is just sitting with somebody's loved one for a bit and reminiscing and finding out who they are. And equally, the other thing that I want to say is, can you imagine, right, if it was like a dinner party and you were all sat round a table? So imagine sitting at a dinner party and you've got a stranger on each side of you, and the first stranger says to you, "What's your date of birth?" It's the first thing they say to you. And the other one says, "Can you tell me a name that's around you?" And then the other one says, "What do you do for a living?" And then on the other side, they say, "Tell me any ailments you've got." I'm trying to think of things. But you get what I'm getting at here, yeah? It's that we wouldn't do that in life. We would say, "Hi, isn't this lovely? Nice to meet you. Tell me about yourself." Hopefully none of you interrogate people that you've never spoken to before. I mean, I do ask a lot of questions because I'm fascinated by people. But, yeah. So I think our work as mediums is to have a conversation with the spirit world, a naturalness in mediumship, where it's not that shopping list. It's letting them communicate with you and you finding out about them and you having a nice time together. And the rest of it should follow. But of course, the spirit world understand the need for evidence, and there is no excuse for not having any. I want to say that as well. And just to be clear, when you're doing loved ones in spirit, evidential mediumship, it's more than sort of airy-fairy. I love airy-fairy, don't get me wrong, but it's more than floaty, you should be rich, or I see a golden light around you and it looks beautiful, or I think you could be a medium if you wanted to be. They're things that I hear said by people when they're flagging and they're trying to think of something to say that gets everyone to go, ooh. So evidence is something factual that you can sink your teeth into, but it should be delivered not through interrogation, but through conversation. Yeah, I think that's right. So let me know if you agree, what you think, any questions you've got to do with mediumship, me, anything at all, because I love to hear from you all. And I will just repeat my email address. I feel like I'm always doing it. It's because I've recorded 2 podcasts back to back. It's podcast@hannahmedium.co.uk, podcast@hannahmedium.co.uk. And thank you, as always, for all the shares, the reviews, and for listening. Have a lovely day.